Red Light Falling, Episode 2.5, Pulsing Red. Written by Joseph and Marisha Cautilli. The novel Red Light Falling, a noir tale of redemption by John Andrews, Joseph Cautilli, and Marisha Cautilli. Book 1 of Nanite Nation series. Director and producer, Roma Gray. Executive producer credits, Marisha and Joseph Cautilli. Narrated by Joshua Banks and Shauna Lee Carton. Music by Marisha Cautilli. Draining another cup of coffee, Johnson lets his mind wander away from the focus of the case. He stands up and goes to his gun harness, where his Beretta P4 waits. He thought it was lost until he went into his attic and found it sitting in an old box with photos of him during the war. It's an old-fashioned gun, but it has belonged to the Johnson family for a long time. He stares at it and decides to give it a polish. Finding ammo for the gun is difficult these days. People prefer lasers and ion or particle beam weapons, but still, he feels safe with the Beretta. He shoves it past the brown leather and into his boot holster. Instantly, the routine of strapping on the gun distracts him from the radio. Still, Jackie's cyber show continues.
This one goes out to someone from my past. Someone who undoubtedly is listening in.
Jackie Cyber drawls into the microphone as the opening of Pink Floyd's Time plays.
It is the pain we carry through life that binds us. The pain either makes us better people or shatters who we are.
Damn you, woman. Radio off. Johnson bellows, scornful of his past, and the radio turns off. He stands up from the table in frustration. Grabbing his tattered coat and slamming the apartment door behind him, he charges out of the building. As Johnson hurls his large frame down the stairs, his momentum almost staggers him to a fall. Michael Satuit's landlord comes bounding in a forcible rush up the stairs and shoulders the older man roughly, sneering as they pass each other. The man's 5-day-old stubble stands apparent in a proximity as his teeth are poorly aligned with mixed iron and gold fillings. The barbaric crudeness of his dental work makes it appear that the dentist is from the last century. Today, most had implants for missing teeth or regrown stem cell teeth. His fetid breath pollutes the air, and his body smells of garlicky sweat. Johnny calms, slows, and thanks his lucky stars that Michael hasn't started anything. Irritated as he is, Johnson could not deal with an argument. However, as he gets into his old quad, he realizes he has not thought of a place to go. He got a touch-up for the fake flesh surrounding his robotic arm. He leans back into the vinyl seats, starts the engine, and hovers into the streamline, heading for the city center. On the 66th floor of her new penthouse, Lilli White stands looking out the open window. The view is amazing. Neon lights, the skyline, and the whole thing works. Traced in magenta over the city, the skyline enhances the city's glow. While her gaze is cast outward, Lilli's mind searches inside herself. The skyline is something that she always wanted for Eddie. Or had she convinced herself it was for him when it had always been her dream for herself? A pang of guilt surges through her. Running her palm over her face, she mutters his name to the cold city. Maybe the penthouse of the wealthy apartment complex has become a citadel, holding her as a prisoner. With her mind on betrayal, she taps the edge of the brickwork, her frustration palpable. A gentle breeze caresses her skin as several beeps indicate her new cyberphone is coming through with a message. Recently, she changed her tone from major scales to minor ones. She liked the Dorian mode. Weary, she pulls it out of her pocket her fingers trembling slightly. Lilli fumbles the phone and almost drops it off the side of the building. Still not entirely used to the upgrade, she prefers the old type of phone with actual buttons. This is the Red Ski 19, the ultimate touchscreen, speech and thought technology. Using EEG and PET patterns, the operator has to think about what they want. And it happens. To operate it, Lilli gives the phone her fingerprint and then thinks of what she wants the device to do. The screen reads her prints, scans its database, and glows green at a match. The face of the phone's helpful virtual intelligence lights up on the screen. It asks if she wants to read the text or answer the caller. She searches for the answer button until she finally realizes she must think of the word answer.
I'm sorry. The caller has hung up. Would you like to view the message? This is so confusing. I bet if Eddie were here, he'd be a whiz with this new phone.
She mutters, her voice cracking slightly as Detective Johnson's face projects out of the phone as a holographic image. Noticing Johnson's tiredness, Lilli hopes she has not made a mistake in hiring him. Mrs. White, Detective Johnson here. His low voice feels reassuring. He licks his lips before he starts again. I just thought I'd call and check in to, make sure you're getting your credit's worth. Look, we need to talk. I need some honesty. I'm hearing some weird stuff about your kid, and I think the message terminates halfway through, as so many previous messages have. A soft hiss sounds, and the front door slides open. The penthouse is current in its security. Top of the line, the best of the best. The open door reveals a tall man with a long coat and fur scarf around his neck. In the heat, rain, and humidity, such a sight strikes the woman as odd. Honey, I'm home. Any news on Eddie? She presses the glass screen, and Metallica's Nothing Else Matters plays. The man's smile is short-lived as Lilli shakes her head. He strokes his well-trimmed goatee, noticing his face appears to be getting thinner, and steps over the threshold and into the room. Lilli throws her arms around him, but he holds her back, his eyes filled with an unreadable sorrow. His brow furrows as if he is in a distant thought.
Tom, are you okay?
When she wants to, Lilli's voice is soft and pleasant, like nectar to a bee. This is one of those times she wants to be friendly, hoping to break through the wall of worry that seems to envelop him. In the back room of the Scorched Wing Division, Detective Black corners the division's behavioral analyst and unit profiler, McCarthy. He gently guides the man with the lure of free coffee and donuts to an interrogation room. Detective Black sits across from McCarthy in the dimly lit interrogation room. The air is thick with tension, the weight of the recent murders hanging over them. Hey, McCarthy. How's the wife? She's good to me. Black nods. I was giving some thought to the recent serial killings of the teens. I thought that was sent to major case. It was, but Jesus, Black, you need to learn to let this sort of thing go, or it's going to eat you. You, of all people, should know it's already eating me. McCarthy nods. It is hard to be the unit profiler. He has a background and multiple PhDs in psychology, forensics, criminology, and criminal justice. Still, this work came later. As first, he was the unit's in-house psychologist. Black's eyes are sharp, focused, while McCarthy's are contemplative, scanning through the case files spread out on the table. Well, I can give you this. These killings, well, they bug me. McCarthy says, his voice steady but laced with concern. They don't strike me as the work of a serial killer. Serial killers might change their modus operandi, but they seldom change their signature. This guy has several times. Black nods, leaning forward. So, what are you thinking? A professional hit? There were teens. Who would want to hit them? You never know. The world is a creepy place. McCarthy sighs as Black lays out a photo he kept from the crime scene. McCarthy taps a finger on one of the other photos. Exactly. The precision, the lack of emotional involvement. It all points to a professional. Someone who knows what they're doing and has been trained. Except in this case, it feels odd. I get the feeling for emotional attachment of some sort. Attachment? Or pride around work? I don't know. I'd love to get a full profile if you have the time. Attachment or pride? I got cases that are mine to profile. Black looks at him and gives him a response with something he never does. How the hell do you, of all people, have puppy dog eyes? I wonder that myself sometimes. McCarthy shakes his head. Black frowns, rubbing his chin. I checked the records. No big hitters have flown into New Cyber City recently. At least, none that we know of. That's the thing, McCarthy replies, his eyes narrowing. You know a true professional wouldn't leave a trail. They'd blend in and appear like regular citizens. Corporate washes are becoming more common. They'd take a killer and give them a new identity, a clean slate, making them nearly impossible to track. Black's mind races, piecing together the puzzle. So, we're looking for someone who's been scrubbed clean. No past, no records, just a ghost. Exactly. Or maybe, hard to say, McCarthy says, leaning back in his chair. We need to profile this person based on their actions and methods. Look for patterns in the precision and the way they handle their victims. It's all we have. Black nods, determination hardening his features. All right, let's start with the basics. What do we know about the victims? Black hands the files over to McCarthy, who flips through each folder. All teenage boys, all from different backgrounds. No apparent connection between them, but the way they were killed, it's too clean, too efficient. This isn't someone who kills for pleasure. This is someone who kills for a purpose. Black's eyes narrow. A purpose. What purpose? McCarthy shrugs. Could be anything. Corporate espionage? Personal vendetta? Or even a test run for something bigger? We need to dig deeper. Find out who benefits from these deaths. Black stands up, pacing the room. He agrees with McCarthy that the killings feel corporate, but he still wonders why these boys met their ends. All right, we start with the victims' backgrounds. See if there's any hidden connection. And we keep an eye out for anyone who fits the profile of a ghost. Someone who's too clean, too perfect. McCarthy nods, a grim smile crossing his face. It's a long shot, but it's all we've got. I'll get you the profile as soon as I can. Still, it's not our case. We could get in a ton of trouble on this one. But let's catch this ghost. The two men share a determined look, the weight of their task settling on their shoulders. The hunt for the killer has just begun, and they know it would be a battle of wits and perseverance, but they're ready. They must be. Tom, a nobleman, inherited a mixed English-French bloodline, which he traced using an online genetic ancestry research service. Proudly, he tells others he is a direct descendant of a Louisiana sugar baron from the late 1800s. Over time, he develops some of the same traits. His family always had money, but each successive generation proved itself worthy by one financial score after another to increase the fortune. Catching himself, Tom kisses Lilli's forehead, but quickly pulls away to take off his long coat and scarf. Lilli kisses Tom's lips, but her gentle kisses have long since lost their flavor to him. As he places the coat on the rack, Lilli notices Tom's right hand showing his one physical flaw in his perfectly sculpted body, a small tremor. It's a tell that his body gives when he's worried or stressed. When Lilli first noticed it, Tom was drunk. His acute guard was down. It showed her his frailty and humanity. He works hard to conceal it, and this time he does so by plunging his hand into his pocket. He launches a cheery faux grin at Lilli. With an awkward smile back, Lilli goes into the kitchenette area. Grabbing a glass, she pours Tom a shot of bourbon as he sits down, facing the window and balcony. He peers into the night sky. Tom thinks, the sky should be dark at night, but instead, it's a damn neon red. No wonder I can't sleep. Tom downs the first bourbon quickly. Lilli thinks it's best to make Tom's refill on the rocks to ensure he nurses it a bit. The shot burns going down. Tom hates the cheap stuff. He prefers the proper stuff, all warmth with none of the burn. Inside him, though, the whiskey cheers him up. He takes the second glass from her and sips, letting her know he's gotten the message. Seductively, Lilli sits down, pulling her legs up onto the couch. Bright neon red bathes Tom's skin, causing it to glow like a thrift store glowworm. Absent-mindedly, Tom sips at his drink, then pulls a packet of smokes from his shirt pocket in the lighter. I don't know how this works out. Tom thinks, deeply immersed in his worry. He flicks the lighter open and lights the cigarette. He inhales deeply, and the smoke washes down his throat and into his lungs. The smooth rhythm relaxes him. Tom buries his hands in his face. Lilli waits for him to say something. Anything, but nothing comes. She finally says,
"Music."
The radio clicks on to the middle of the Doors' tune Soul Kitchen. Tom kicks his leg up on the black ottoman. His voice, rough, makes his comments more threatening than he intends. What about this private dick I'm paying for? You found the boy yet? Or is he just a washed-up old fool?
"Look, we'll get him back, all right?"
Lilli strolls over to where Tom sits. She rubs his tense shoulders. Time slips away, ticking past the seconds to minutes to hours, quickly gone forever, never to return. Sorry, work is getting to me, I guess. What say we eat out tonight? Lilli smiles warmly. Tom's mind races, but I won't be vice president much longer. Oh no. As Billy Joel's Piano Man starts, he finishes his drink, and worry creeps back onto his face. He thinks, not when I have that power. I will have that brat. He won't ruin it for me by running off. Tom puts his glass in the sink and heads to the bathroom to shower. It's clear he's in no mood to talk. Before entering the shower, Tom grabs his sonic smart pad, the latest tablet from one of Japan's leading electronics manufacturers. He handles it with an aplomb as he opens his mail and folders, checking the progress of children and teenagers who show signs of the activated M gene sequence. He is intensely stressed, and it shows in his face. As he rubs his eyes, the data confirms Turtle Dove eradicated the last few who declined his generous offer to learn to use their abilities in the new Hastings Island camp. He smiles at her text about the right to work and switches on the high-powered jacuzzi jets, which blast his skin from all sides with water streams computer-calculated to his temperature preferences. As he stands, his back muscles relax. Stepping out of the high-powered shower, Tom grabs a cigar and lights it. He holds the cigar tightly in his hand as if it's supporting him. In the olden days, child protection laws regulated what kind of tasks children could perform and how many hours a child could work. Such laws were probably the worst mistake in history. Except for minimum wage laws, children are indeed able to hold jobs in the corporation. Thus, efforts are made to protect their right to work. He remembers the day when the old U.S. Congress rolled back the child protection laws. Now, kids are free to work as much as needed. Many work 60 hours a week on top of school to help their families survive. Those who don't work come from wealthy families or just deadbeats who need to be eradicated. Some of the other members of Hastings have set up a tally of who gets the most kids into the camps. Tom works hard to keep the project going. He knows the kids represent the corporation's future. Genetic analysis and brain scans could lead to a whole new world. The kids have excellent weapons potential. Tom feels lucky to have Turtle Dove. Effortlessly, she's the best fixer out there. Now, all those kids who told Hastings to piss off. Tom squeezes his eyes closed as he feels the tremor in his hand act up. That bloody psychotic bitch. He sniffs, knowing he hates competing with Turtle Dove for what's rightly his. He powers down the pad and strips it out of his clothes to shower. Tom turns the temperature up. He likes the water to scald him as it cascades off his body. It feels as if every grubby little parasite from the city gets washed off his skin. Sometimes he feels it cleanses him of the lies that flow out of his mouth to Lilli. It works in his favor that she's so desperate to live away from poverty and to act like a socialite rather than a mother. He doesn't even care for the child. He's found Eddie, from the reports, the strongest one yet. If he could stabilize that power and learn the gene sequence, then maybe he can harness that same power, and the city will be his own. Tom sighs deeply at the thought and turns off the water. His body is lobster red, just like he needs. For now, the tremors have stopped in his hand. After hanging up with Miss White, Johnson heads to the office despite his exhaustion and stress. His body aches, and his teeth clench together. Even though it's evening, the oppressive heat is killing him. As he leaves the building, Johnson takes a mild pain reliever to help him. Mind racing through the possibilities, Johnson immediately discards a few places where Eddie wouldn't go. Figuring the remaining possibilities hold promise, Johnson starts his pursuit. Johnson finds himself at the school crossing town by the dreaded subway system. Behind the school is an alley, separating it from residential houses. The rocky ground crunches under his feet. Heading down the piss-soaked, shit-covered, rat-infested alley, Johnson shivers. He's in the slum area of the city, there to retrieve his beat-up vehicle from the parking lot adjacent to his old apartment building. Johnson staggers forward, his joints aching, his knees straining from the pain. Blinking against the stench in his pain, Johnson thinks of the adage, getting old is not for the timid. Just as he's about to slide his palm print over the door to his quad, a rough push hits him from behind. The jolt sends him gut first into the vehicle, knocking the wind out of him. Hey, Hilda, I heard you. You were snooping around. Finally, got a case stuck. Gulping, Johnson slides down his quad into a crumpled mess on the ground. Michael Satuit looms over him with a leering smirk. Satuit is a big, broad-shouldered man with a brawny build. At 6'3" and weighing over 240 pounds, he towers over Johnson. Satuit's thin, dry facial skin and splotchy veins is covered with pockmarks. Still, it's hard to say he's unattractive. He has one of those shoe-leather rugged looks that, combined with his facial scar, some women might find appealing. I don't have time for this, Mike. Johnson tries to sound lighthearted and friendly. Satuit came to the neighborhood some 55 years ago from Ukraine after Russia cracked down on protesters who wanted more capitalism and Ukraine to have more significant ties to Russia. Then the war happened, and Ukraine held its ground, embarrassing one of the strongest nations in the world at the time. It showed how ineffective oligarchy became, with their persistent need to pay off the leader, creating inefficiencies and lies around important things like weapons and troop training. After his arrival, Satuit amassed a small fortune by building a property still lagging from the 2028 U.S. housing collapse, which lingered well into the 2030s. He used those funds on metabolic enhancements, which is why he appeared younger than his real age. "Oh, nay. No time for this," Michael says with his pronounced Ukrainian accent, and a kind of nastiness that takes years to perfect. Michael is one of those people whose accent thickened over time. Indeed, the accent is much more pronounced than it was 2 years ago. "No time for this." The lips twist with anger as he drags out a screwdriver and breaks one of Johnson's headlights. "How about to pay me, you rat bastard pista?" His voice is fierce, and spit shoots out of his mouth. Johnson thinks, leave it up to Satuit to know how not to turn a phrase. Not missing Satuit's words, Johnson pivots to him and puts on his most diplomatic expression. "You will get your money, and some, if you just let me get to work." Johnson hurries to his car to avoid a conversation with the man. "How about if I get my money now?" Michael insists. The words creep out like a hiss. For an instant, their eyes lock on each other. Michael's face is just inches from Johnson's. Finally, Johnson's face turns congenial, and he says, "Sure." He hands 30 credits to Michael. "Hey, you owe me at least 150. Michael says, taking the money. "Of course I do. And you'll have it as soon as I get it." With that, Johnson gets into his quad, rolls down the window, and zooms off while Michael counts the cash. Speeding downtown, Johnson decides to speak with some old friends he had at the police station. After Trixie's lead, he thinks it is the best place to find his lost boy, or at least start the search. Flashing magenta neon advertisements pour through the photochemical smog of New Cyber City, selling everything from cigarettes to booze, always with the same themes. A half-naked model asking, "What kind of cigarette do you want to smoke?" Or, "Which booze should you drink to get such a woman into bed?" They remind Toby of an old Rolling Stones song, "Get Off My Cloud." The images irk his core. Toby Rosenberg, around 15, sits on a rooftop, ignoring incoming calls from his mother on his watch. Wearing a white vest and basketball shorts, he holds a letter from the Hastings Corporation. "Another bitching corporation begs for me to work for them as a junior placement. I already told that stuffy dude no way. I'm going into the army like my old man." The kid mutters angrily to himself. He generally tries not to get angry because that's when weird things happen. Maybe this was why these companies wanted him so much. There was that time his girlfriend pissed him off in the center city, and he just eyeballed her, and the next thing he knew, her skirt fell, embarrassing the hell out of her. He had to admit, it embarrassed him as well. This embarrassment, strong desire, and shock all seemed to freeze his abilities. He'd heard stories about how some people who were great screamers in movies could not even let out a peep when terrified, so that was one aspect of his ability. Other times, his power is more subtle, making stuff around him float. Focus and concentration caused the side of his brain to tingle and reach out like an invisible hand. It did not take squinting or a unique hand or facial movement. For him, moving stuff with his mind got old quickly. If he could pick a power to have, it would be something like mind control. Get others to do what he wants, and especially the girls. Following orders, he could never like it happening to himself. The military has no appeal for him. Following orders got his father some weird injection in the Third Iraq War, years before he was born. His poor dad, he thinks. My old man died in a military hospital bed, covered in his piss?
He was a hero.
Turtle Dove steps off a hovering speed bike onto the rooftop in front of the kid. He did not see her approach. He stammers and wobbles to his feet. She presses the enhancement on her arm for a positive facial recognition match. Turtle Dove whips out a blade before he even asks who she is. It flips open like an old switchblade. She grabs the kid's arms and makes 2 deep slits through the veins and arteries, making it look like he did it to himself. Turtle Dove watches with glee as the boy begs and pleads for his life. He bleeds out as she holds him down. Help! Please, help me! His face transforms ashen. He tries to focus his power and manages to raise his phone. It hurls at Turtle Dove, striking her in the shoulder. Pain sears through her system, but over the juice, it is barely noticeable.
Oh, you got?
Spent, the boy drops. She feels a surge of success, becoming more than she was, closer to being a god amongst mortals, even the ones with grand powers. After a while, she confirms his death, nods, rubs the hurt shoulder, and inputs something into the virtual keyboard from her enhancement. She gets on the speed bike and is on her way, leaving the body of the kid in a pool of blood. As Johnson enters the police station, a round of jeers and groans erupts. He stops in to talk to his old friend, Sergeant Mikolai. The sergeant is an honest man of the people. He is easygoing and easy to get along with, so he often plays the good cop to John Jay's bad cop. Bringing coffee and some pierogi from the break room fridge, Mikolai smirks at Johnson. They retreat to a back room to talk. Mikolai fills Johnson in on the outcome of a previous case he had worked on, which Johnson lent a helping hand with. The private detective asks Mikolai if the White kid is in jail. The officer reports they do not have any kid named White, but it's not uncommon for the kids to use phony names. Johnson shows Mikolai the photo of Eddie. Mikolai says the kid is using the name Landers, but he's gone. Early in the morning hours, Landers saw the judge. In the pre-Hastings days, juveniles were either released to their parents or detained in juvie, depending on the seriousness of the offense. But now that Hastings Corporation rules the roost, laws have changed, even those created decades ago to protect children. The judge set bail and the kid made it. Johnson wonders how the hell the kid made bail. Landers took off when his cellmate, Preacherson, was released. Mikolai explains. Preacherson was bailed out by his guardian angel, the custodial social worker, who tries to keep an eye on him. I hate to be her. Anyway, at the same time, she bailed out the other kid with him. Johnson cocks his head questioningly. She had that kind of money? His puzzled expression says more than his words. Well, bail was low, and they only needed to come up with 10%. Computer facials didn't come up with anything, even ran it through the EarthCore system, and neither did NCIC, CODIS, or fingerprints. Accordingly, the judge assumed it was the kid's first offense. Law says as low as 10. They have a right to work, so we have to let them go if they make bail. Good people out there, Johnny, are working on their issues in life and doing their business, you know? Johnny nods. Any idea where they went? Asked Johnson, noticing for the first time that he's starting to smell like stale old sweat. Like, where does that Preacherson kid hang out? Johnson's neck is tight, and his gut wrenches thinking of the kid out on the street alone. His ideal hope would have been to come to the station and the kid be in jail. He bails the kid out and takes him home. Life never seems to be that simple for him. No idea. We tried the number he gave us and got some stuck-up ass who said he would make arrangements. And that was that. So, why is the kid important? He's a runaway, and his mom's worried. Johnson grumbles. When did the world get so unchild-friendly? Children's work ages were much older when he was a kid, except in the South. Worker shortages demanded kids work, so corporations did not have worker shortages and needed to import immigrants to work. Childhood is for the wealthy. He turns his neck to lessen the knot in his chest, but the knot doesn't let up. Nikolai stretches. Typical. In most cases, the kids wise up and return home alone, especially when the money runs out and they can't afford even get toilet paper to wipe their asses. With that, they both chuckle. Johnson thinks, dead end. Maybe I can get a start with this Preacherson kid's address, but he probably is not staying there. Johnson thinks. They sit and talk for another half hour before Johnson says he needs to be on his way. We were that young once, Johnny. Yeah, and look where it got us. Johnson replies, his face speckled from the heat. Scarier times, too. Jay was spouting off about how his dad and Earth Corps had stopped the North Korean general from shipping a nuke in a cargo ship through South Korea to what used to be Maryland. They planned to detonate the things and take out DCL. It was long ago, even before the water wars. But we lived through it all, Johnny. The world has been much safer overall since Hastings took over the corporate council. So what if the kids have to work a bit younger? The price is safety. Nikolai licks his lips to grab a crumb as he picks up his coffee cup and sips at the black liquid. So, Johnson, Private Dick, I helped you. You got anything from behind closed doors for me this month? Looking downbeat and like a hollow shell of the former powerful military man, Johnson shakes his head, wiping the sweat from across his top lip. Sorry. No. Things have been dead slow. I'm barely making ends meet. He trailed off. Tipping the local police has been customary since the Supreme Court made it legal in 2024. Usually, the tip was just a bottle of wine. Lately, for Nikolai, given his alcohol problems, it was just a couple of credits or chocolates. Looking at his old friend, Nikolai understood that neither seemed to be the picture of success. Johnson's life has stalled since the war, and he barely held the will to live. Nikolai went bankrupt twice and is in recovery from alcoholism. Nikolai puts his arm on Johnson's shoulder. Talk to Jackie. Never. Well, at least I got you, Nick. Yep, 22 years in the spring. Nikolai replies. His grin lets the pearly white teeth out. They are amazingly well kept for his age, Johnson thinks. He must visit the dentist weekly to keep his teeth pearly white. His job probably covers this too. City workers get a good gig. We should all be so lucky. Johnny stares amazed. 22 years. I have no clue how you pulled that one off. Sensing Johnny's pain but also recognizing the difficulty of the subject, Nikolai proclaims, He is a great guy, but the key is to learn to forgive. Save that speech for Jackie. In a calm tone, Nikolai offers, She said that same thing to me once about you. Well, maybe I should learn to forgive, but I don't think there's anyone I ain't forgiving. How about yourself, Johnny? Nikolai consoles. Johnny bites the side of his cheek, and his eyebrows furrow into a unibrow. Before he leaves, the private eye tries to get the address to Preacherson's, but the sergeant replies he can't give out that information. Johnson thanks him for his help. As he gets up to leave, Nikolai says, "Don't worry. He'll show up. One way or another, they always do." As he leaves the room, Johnny thinks, if the kid is back on the street, he may return to his old haunts. It might be worth checking out the arcade again. Preacherson offers the new kid a bed. The room is not much dirty and worn, but at least the sheets are clean. Roaches scurry on the floor as the teen flips the lights on. "It's not much," the teen announces, but Eddie is appreciative. "It's perfect. I know how to make a lava lamp using tap water, royal blue food coloring, mineral oil, and an antacid tablet. Sounds fun." Eddie drops his clothes by the bed. He scans the room and notices a closet and a dresser. The color palette is a dull brown. The place hasn't been painted in years. Picking up his clothes, Eddie opens the closet door and drops them in. "Get some sleep," Preacherson whispers, trying to sound empathetic. Buying the false empathy, Eddie acknowledges. "Yeah, it was a long night. I still feel sick." Bile rises in the back of his throat, and he needs to brush his teeth. The film over his teeth annoys him, and he hopes they won't stain too quickly. Wonder how that Jesse kid is doing. I did not get a chance to give him my number. Things happen real quick at the end. Shame. He seemed like a cool kid to hang out with. And I'm not? You know what I mean. Justin appears hurt, and Eddie is not sure if it's serious. Then the teen breaks into a laugh. Eddie chuckles and then stretches. He lets out a loud yawn. "Bathroom is down the hall," offers Preacherson, but Eddie rolls into bed and is already fast asleep. Preacherson heads back to his room. Clearly the kid was exhausted. But Preacherson plans to show Eddie the ropes as soon as he's up. The kid needs to earn his keep, just like everyone else. Preacherson thinks about where it might be best to use Eddie. An idea comes to him. They got a new batch of skimmers to put into stores to scan credit cards. The process is simple. Attach the skimmer to a card, in this case, a card Eddie would be given, and when the card is swiped to pay for something small, the skimmer provides access to the next 50 cards scanned. Once Preacherson and Eddie have their card numbers, they go to town for cash advances and purchases. Preacherson also knows some people to whom they can sell the card numbers. With White's good looks and charm, Preacherson figures the kid could hit 10 to 20 stores without anyone being suspicious. Their take on these scans could be a couple 100,000 credits before they're caught. Of course, the police will search for the money, so they need a plan to get it out of the bank accounts and into their pockets. They'll need the money to land in a private account within 3 days. Any longer, and the police will track it. Having decided how the new kid will earn his keep, Preacherson feels exhausted and longs to sleep. As soon as his head hits the pillow, he's sound asleep. The old quad dances through the sky. Johnny Johnson listens to Jackie Cyber bellow in his beater quad on the radio. She says,
"The next hour will be the best in love songs for all you lovers out there. And let's talk. Feel free to call in and speak to me. Let me know how you got your love. What did you promise them? Maybe it was mink coats or a trip to China. Perhaps it was not a thing but security or a promise to hear the pain behind their anger. Your care and concern. So, call in and talk to me."
Johnson thinks, biting back the pain. Christ, that woman is trying to kill me.
Now, here is a moldy oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, I ripped your heart from your chest and smashed it with a large gold brick, replies Johnny Johnson to no one.
Mr. Ray Charles and Mr. Tony Bennett are singing a little number called Evening.
Jackie's voice says on the radio. Johnson glances angrily at the radio and snarls. The flashing red light from a police car whips by his quad's window. It's enough to trigger Johnny. He starts to hyperventilate. Johnny feels himself yanked back. No matter how hard he struggles to stop it, his mind relives a day in Iraq. It takes all his efforts to steer his quad over to the side. The flashback rages. It was a frustrating day in Iraq. Flames danced on his skin. The heat of the desert air sanded the inside of his nose and dried it out completely. Johnny knew the source of his frustration. He and his men, the daredevils, were on patrol. He'd complained several times to the damn brass to let the locals build their homes in the community any way they wanted to, and to hell with the regulations. This was not America. Why hold them to American rules? It just seemed to be pissing the locals off and, worse, pushing away hearts and minds. Still, the paper pushers worried. If some disaster happened a few years down the line on the building, they'd come back and give the old Uncle Sam a black eye. His team drove forward. Within an instant, an improvised explosive device went off on the road right next to the lead quad. It flipped over. His men in the quad behind it immediately filed out to help. Blood pounding in the veins, in his neck, and along his forehead. Johnson yelled for them to stop. The pattern in many of these cases was the same. A second IED set to go off shortly after the first to catch those rushing in to provide help. The bomb went off. Limbs blew off, and flesh flew. Fog. Johnson's world is dark brown and quickly fading to black. He struggles to open his eyes, but he fails. There is only darkness. He is surprised to find that he is crying. Detective Johnson finds his knees balled up to his chest in his quad. Shaking uncontrollably, he's drenched in sweat. Jackie Cyber takes the needle off the record, which was playing on the radio. Kate Bush's Withering Heights, Jackie Cyber whispers.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Sweat pours off Johnny's body. His breath slows as he lets the radio ground him. It takes several minutes, but he is working it. I am back in New Cyber City. I am listening to the radio. Jackie Cyber's on the radio. She's taking a caller. A young woman's voice rings out.
Hello, Jackie. I'm a big fan of the show. Thank you for taking my call. Hello. What's your name, young lady? And why are you calling in? My name's Sophie, and I'm going through a tough time right now. And I thought you might have some guidance.
Everyone's love life is always going through tough times, whether they know it or not. Johnny scoffs. Jackie always attracts the desperate types to her show. On one hand, the detective cringes hearing about these hopeless life problems. On the other, he secretly finds it captivating to listen to these people speak.
All right, Sophie. What's on your mind? I got a text from my boyfriend the other night. It was quite salacious, but he used a different girl's name. I'm worried he might be cheating on me, but I'm scared of what could happen if I confront him. What if it's all a misunderstanding? I don't know what to do. Do you have any suggestions?
Jackie takes a deep sigh.
My worry is that my suggestions might come across as too trivial for the intensity of the fear that you are experiencing. It is a deep and dark situation, my listeners. Our psychologist friends tell us that we need to feel safe in relationships to have our love flourish and not be transformed by desperation. Sometimes our life feels like it is in a dive. Know that your heart is important to protect, but even more important, to let go. Let it play in the shadows for a moment. Let's explore the heart's role in this matter. Ah, Sophie. Sophie, the shadows often conceal the truth, don't they? Relationships can be like a gothic novel, filled with twists and turns and secrets. It gets filled with rising highs and sinking lows. When you first got the text, excitement at the salaciousness, but then the crushing fall as you got to the name, which was not yours. Oh, heartbreak. For you, confronting him might feel like opening Pandora's box. But sometimes, the dark must be faced to find the light. How much would have Anne Rice's interview with the vampire changed if Louis could have confronted Lestat and told him that Claudia was a piece of him that he could never let go of? First, breathe, not the normal breath. Take a moment to ensure your exhale is twice as long as your inhale. As you exhale, imagine casting your fear out into a large lake. See it sinking below the waterline. The abyss can wait. Before jumping to conclusions, gather your thoughts. Is there any other behavior that's raised red flags? Sometimes one's misplaced name can be an innocent mistake. Other times, it is a harbinger of darker things. When you're ready, approach him calmly. Choose a safe setting, like a dimly lit cafe or a quiet park at dusk. Places that soothe the soul. Express how the message made you feel without casting shadows of accusations. I received your text but noticed it had another name. It hurt and confused me. See how he reacts in the flickering candlelight of your words. Is it the dying embers of love or the burning of renewal? Trust your instincts, Sophie. Pain might be the future, but it is better to know now rather than to live and be unsure. The heart is a finely tuned instrument and often picks up on notes that the mind might miss.
In his quad, Johnny takes the jockey's words to heart and quietly asks, "Damn, why didn't you apply this to us?"
If he dismisses your feelings, then perhaps the darkness lies deeper. If he's understanding and remorseful, it could just be a mistake in the symphony of your relationship. Remember, you deserve a love as eternal as the night sky, not one that flickers like a dying flame. Keep your heart safe, but don't be afraid to confront the shadows. Gothic wisdom for your troubles, Sophie. Be brave.
Johnny swallows a breath as an unease permeates the radio. It almost causes him to choke. His mind flashes to his kids' faces the day he was kicked out of the house. Shock, fury, and despair lingered on their faces. Johnny wishes it never ended like that. Jackie Cyber places the needle on the next disc, Sisters of Mercy, Temple of Love. When the song fades, she forges her show's conclusion for a special bulletin.
I would sign off for the day, but I have one bit of news for my young fledgling men out there. A troubled phantom lurks the streets, taking boys down with them. We don't know who. We don't know why. So, stay safe, fledglings. The world ain't so kind.
Continuing the grimmer tone she has taken on, the jockey gives her a signature sign-off line.
I love all you dark listeners out there, and I'm a better person because you listen. This is Jackie Cyber signing off. Enjoy the beauty of tonight. It is a beautiful night. Please stay tuned for the Dance Man, Jimmy Borg, next.
Radio off, orders Johnson as he hauls his quad onto the road and continues to the arcade. Pure first-degree murder. That woman is trying to kill me, between her words setting the emotional stage and the damn triggers. Good God! He mutters to no one in particular. The private eye pauses, then thinks that maybe it is justifiable homicide, and tries to let the feelings go, but they fester and ferment instead. The pressure builds up and his head throbs. It feels like coming out of a boxing ring, although boxing was banned some 20 years ago by the SLA, the Sports Law Association. But Johnny's head keeps pounding and pounding. The red light from the radio display flickers, triggering a wave of nausea and panic. He slams his fist against the dashboard, trying to shake off the memories. Jackie Cyber's voice, now with a goth tone, echoes in his mind.
We all have our demons, don't we? The shadows that lurk in the corners of our minds, waiting to pounce. But remember, my darklings, it's in the darkness that we find our true selves. Embrace the night, for it is where we are most alive.
Johnson grits his teeth, trying to focus on the road ahead. He doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. The city's neon lights blur together, creating a dizzying array of colors. He grips the steering wheel tighter, his knuckles white. The memories of Iraq, the pain, the loss, they all come rushing back, threatening to overwhelm him. The detective takes a deep breath, forcing himself to stay grounded. The radio's red light continues to flicker, but he refuses to let it control him. He's stronger than his past, stronger than the demons that haunt him. He has to be for Eddie, for himself, for the chance at redemption. Radio off. The private eye repeats, his voice steadier this time. The music stops and the car is filled with silence. Johnson takes another deep breath, focusing on the task at hand. He has to do a job, and he won't let his past get in the way. Not now, not ever. With the information from his police friend, Mikolai, Johnny decides to call the Justin Kid social worker and find out the location of the house. With any luck, I'll find the kid there and bring him home by tonight. The phone rings, and the old social worker picks up.
Praise the Lord, and I hope you are having a blessed day.
Johnny thinks to himself, well, she sounds awfully pleasant. This might be a very easy task indeed. Johnny licks his lips in hopeful anticipation. A blessed day to you as well. My name is Johnny Johnson. I am an investigator working to bring home a kid to his poor parents. They're worried sick about the child. The only lead that I have is that he left prison under an assumed name with a kid in your care. Justin Preacherson.
Interesting. But how can I help?
Well, I know that Justin is in the system, so I was hoping you had an address for him.
I'm deeply sorry that information is classified, especially for Justin. We have heard repeatedly that some people who do not have the boy's best interest at heart are looking for him.
I see. But Sharon, you could relieve a lot of pain for the parents. They are really worried sick about this boy.
I'm sorry. I truly wish I could help. Have a nice day.
She hangs up, and a wave of frustration goes through Johnny. Maybe he could hack the system's records. He unfolds the cord from his bionic arm and dials a computer system at the city. Within 3 minutes, he is in, and his joy builds. Inside of 5, a wave of frustration swells inside him as he reaches the proper form for Justin. And, under address, nothing is filed. Looks like I need another path on this one. Turtle Dove's room holds a large fish tank, resembling a coral reef. She feeds her Graysby, a fish with 2 blue gobies attached to its green body with orange spots. The gobies are 2 shades of blue, a darker blue outlining softer blue skin. The fish rush to the surface as the flaked food falls into the tank.
Hungry, aren't we?
Turtle Dove murmurs, smiling to herself. She then walks to her computer, expecting an encrypted file to download. To pass the time, she plays light music on her laptop. After downloading the file, Turtle Dove quickly ensures all across numbers cannot be traced. She examines the name on the file, Eddie White. His whereabouts are unknown, as he has run away from home. His face strikes her as familiar.
Was this the kid I passed in the park?
Her mind wanders as she shuffles through the file. Maybe the assassin remembers the face from the initial brief, where she was shown pictures of some of the children she would hunt. The visual was important to determine if the assassin possessed the guts to get the job done. Turtle Dove reads the file, which is full of detailed descriptions and photos of Eddie. The kid is very young, barely 11. Still, the game is the same. She needs to find him and terminate him, with minimal collateral damage. Laying out the pictures on the blue quilt on her queen-size bed, she surveys each one, taking in every inch of the young boy's face and frame. The assassin studies the file again. This kid is another arcade hanger, so she figures she should head to the arcade and ask around. Maybe she'll play the concerned sister or aunt. She wears a red satin shirt and black leather pants and gazes at her pretty form in the mirror. She thinks,
Ooh, well, this should knock them dead and keep me alive.
A minute more, the dove spins, staring at her form and practicing a few more of her seductive and quick kill moves.
Wish me luck,
she says, glancing at the fish tank one last time before heading out. The Graysby and its gobies dart through the water, oblivious to the deadly mission she's about to undertake. The chaotic neon glow of the arcade floods Johnson's senses as he steps inside. The music, a relentlessly loud mixture of songs from bands like Atari Teenage Riot and Psy-Dolls, make it hard to communicate with anyone. Of the people the detective can hear, no one has seen White or Preacherson. On the walls of the arcade, the movie Hardware plays, but the music is so loud it's almost impossible to hear the dialogue. However, the self-repairing robots are precise. Johnson's broad smile is both disarming and calculated. He approaches the counter, ready to exchange credits for tokens, a move to blend in and gather intel. His hands flex at his sides as he scans the crowd. Near him, Turtle Dove in her satin shirt and black leather pants is also trying to get change. Sticking out, she's laughing and joking with the attendant, whose face looks roped in peach nylon. Her smile has a twinge of falseness to it that only the detective feels. Johnny does not know it, but he and the dove are tracking the same boy.
Why is this old guy, this relic, hired for the hit? Who is he?
Thinks Turtle Dove as Johnson reaches into his pocket and pulls out his money to change. The woman is a little older than the typical crowd, but the detective thinks nothing of it. As Johnny reaches the counter, the attendant speaks of his dream to start a limo quad company. The beautiful woman and the attendant briefly stop talking, her face falling. Excusing himself, Johnson smiles at both and hands the vendor his credits for game tokens. The vendor gives Johnny the tokens and says, "You seem kind of old for games." "Yep, just an urge to come and play. You haven't seen this kid here tonight, have you?" When he shows the attendant the picture, Turtle Dove's pulse spikes and her eyes linger on the kid's face for too long.
"No,"
the assassin replies, twisting the amethyst ring on her finger, a subtle tell betraying her unease. She could not let him get to the kid first. As Johnson's eyes linger on her ring, the attendant peeks at the picture and says, "I have seen that kid before in here, but not tonight. Why are you asking?" Something about the woman seems off as he absorbs the vendor's account of events. The private eye notes the woman might be an interesting lead to talk to later that evening. Johnny lies. "Nephew of mine. His mother is distraught. He went missing a couple of days back. If you see him, can you give me a call?" He hands phony business cards to them both, which go to his private phone. It lists his business as a shoe salesman. As Turtle Dove accepts the business card with a thin smile, vivid images of Eddie flood her mind. She receives her tokens and heads to the virtual reality machines. Intrusive thoughts of the elderly interloper gnaw at her concentration. The assassin seethes internally.
"Reckless, childish, purely idiotic. If they were unhappy with my progress, they should have said something. Instead, they hire this grandpa. From his actions, he's an amateur."
Turtle Dove begins a silent dialogue with herself as she engages in the game.
"Focus, Dove. You can't let this fossil outshine you. You've got the skills, the enhancements, the edge. No room for mistakes."
The blue and green neon glow of the arcade reflects in her eyes. Machines flash on and off. Her fingers precisely smash the virtual buttons, venting her frustration through the game. Every move she makes is a calculated strike, mirroring her determination to prove herself superior.
They think he can do my job? They have no idea what I've sacrificed, what I've become. I am the best. No one can take that from me. There is only one God, one person to judge life and death. I am that God.
Her conditioning, upbringing, illegally genetically enhanced reflexes, her biotech edge, they all set Turtle Dove apart. This relic from another era has no place in her world. She'll show them she's the best. They only fit for this mission. Briefly, the woman debates the option of killing Johnson.
Company might not appreciate it. Remember, it's not just about the kill. It's about the perfection of the act. Clean, efficient, untraceable. That's what makes me the best.
The virtual reality machine spins with life, responding to her every command. As the digital world blurs around her, Turtle Dove's resolve hardens. She will track Eddie down, complete the mission flawlessly, and leave no doubt about who the real professional is. The corporation will regret ever doubting her abilities.
I am Turtle Dove. I am the predator. And Eddie White is my prey. Nothing and no one will stand in my way. My destiny is to bring him to justice for his failure to work. He is a drain on the system, and I am paid to stop such drains.
With renewed determination, the assassin exits the arcade, her mind focusing on the mission ahead. She's ready to hunt. She's ready to kill. She's ready to prove she's the best. Johnny steps into the video tag room, trying to question some of the kids. Instantly, he realizes they want nothing to do with an old man. He needs to spice up his appeal. The detective reaches under the skin on his bionic arm and pulls out a small wire less than a millimeter in diameter. The man extends his arm over the virtual reality battle machine, attaches the wire to a port jack in the rear of the machine, and puts on the headset to play. Instantly, he is absorbed into the game, slowing his opponents down by 1/100th of a second and increasing his reaction time fourfold. Combined with boosting his firepower, allows him to bring down the floating space armada within 2 minutes of play. The intended effect occurs as half the kids in the arcade surround him, waiting for him to beat the high score. Johnny feels like the Pied Piper crafting his hypnotic tune. When the high score falls, the music in the room stops, and a cheer goes up. It lasts only a second before the crowd drifts away, but some stay to find out who he is. Out of the corner of Johnson's eye, he spots the woman he saw by the counter, talking to some kids near the virtual reality machines. Johnson tells the kids he's just a guy looking for his nephew. He shows them Eddie's picture and is surprised by how many say they know him. The good news, they recognize Eddie. The bad news, nobody has seen him all day. Time slips away, and 3 hours pass before Johnny realizes it. Glancing at his watch, he worries the implants in his bionic arm might be acting up. Understanding the kids might be lying low after spending the day in prison, Johnson deduces White has probably slept through the day. The more he thinks about it, the more logical it seems, as White was arraigned early that morning. Another 2 hours pass, and Johnson heads home to prepare a small dinner. Toying to visit Dr. Marlson at the Veterans Affairs Hospital to scan his implants, Johnson decides he doesn't have the time and won't until after his case. He promises to submit himself for a full scan when Eddie White is safely returned. The detective tries to call Lilli twice, but each time gets no answer. Sitting on the roof, Johnson watches lightning flash across an incoming storm. The bluish-white bolts flash intensely in the red neon night. The air smells of ozone, and Johnson coughs. Water drips off his fingers and falls to the ground. Rain mats his brown hair. His ears ring loudly as his mind settles on his firing into the crowd. So many years before, an old detective still can't shake the guilt. Johnny thinks, maybe Mikolai was right. I would love to be able to forgive myself. When the lightning flashes, it reminds Johnny of the time in the desert in Iraq when he chanced upon fulgurites fused into the ground. From a lightning strike, the old detective feels himself being drawn into a full flashback. But then, a small tremor hits, pulling him back to the roof. Johnny tries to focus on a trick an old therapist taught him. As each flash occurs, Johnny wonders how high the sprites will be. Will they reach the ionosphere? He's sure he hears his ex-wife's name over and over in the beat of the rain. It's enough almost to drive him mad, nearly bringing him to tears. But not a tear falls. His face twists and stretches, pulling on his throat, as if trying to choke him, but no tears form. Wearily, he rubs his palms over his eyes. I need to get back to the arcade. I can play the Preacherson lead. See if that takes me anywhere. Maybe someone will know where the kid lives. Far below in the alley, The horn of a truck blares, reverberating through the narrow space. The truck barrels down the alley, adding to the cacophony of the city. When he was younger, Johnson developed a love for truck driving, spending a few years on the road. Reflecting now, he realizes he was fleeing from his problems. How could I have done anything else? His heart shattered after Jackie left him. She was the only woman he ever truly loved, and he demolished the relationship. Not with affairs or drinking, but with silence. A strange distance emerged between them, an emptiness he couldn't overcome. Johnson is sure his ex-wife thought he was having an affair. His daughter's reaction at the arcade confirmed it in some ways. When he was younger, he would have felt justified in thinking he did nothing wrong and his wife was wrong in leaving him because she didn't understand. How could she have understood? He never said anything to her. She knew he woke up at night and sweat in terror, but he never once tried to share his nightmares with her. He figured his disgrace was enough for her to endure. He didn't want to burden her further. His jumbled thoughts signal his need for rest. He intends to close his eyes for a minute, but 3 hours pass before he wakes up on the roof. His arm is stiff from where he slept on it. Drenched from the rain, Johnson grumbles as he struggles out of his clothes, the gray hairs on his chest standing out in the cold. After drying off, he dons one of the lightweight running suits he's accustomed to sleeping in. Finally, the man collapses into his tiny, single bed, restlessly sleeping for an hour before moving to the floor. Johnny wakes to the sun beaming a ray of warmth upon his face. Already dripping with sweat, he heads for a shower. While showering, he decides whether the arcade is the right place to try again. Several cups of hot black coffee later, the detective feels ready. Johnson slips past his landlord and into his beat-up quad, heading to the arcade. The place bustles as he pulls up and lowers his vehicle. He checks his energy levels and nods. They'll suffice for now. There's no need to find the manual charging cell that surely the arcade still clings to. He strolls to the entrance. Trixie is outside talking to someone. She nods at Johnny, surprising him after their last encounter, and he enters. The bustling crowd of children and teens give Johnny a sense of dread. It's a lot busier than before. "You are so going down, Bones," he shouts over the music and thumps of the arcade games. A couple of the kids hear the noise and want to see if the bluster is genuine. They circle toward the old man, ready to see his gameplay. A platform stands raised in the center of the arcade. 2 teenagers using the latest VR software occupy it. Large screens on the walls display what's happening in the virtual world to spectators. Trixie walks past and then turns to the private detective.
It's the annual shoot-off today. The makers of Doom Gore sponsor tournaments around the major city arcades. The kids love it. Yeah, it's a popular game. Chock full of violence, shooting people, nudity. The ultimate virtual reality shockfest. I should have told you about it. What is it tonight? Looking for the same kid?
No. Different one. His friend. Name is Preacherson.
That kid, Justin. The delinquent is a pro. So I expected him to be here for the game, but he hasn't shown up yet. You like him for robbery or something?
No, nothing like that. So he comes to this thing all the time. Trixie brushes her hand gently down the old soldier's face, her touch lingering just a moment longer than necessary. Johnson's mouth dries up, making him feel like a young man again for a second or two. Then he coughs and steps back, trying to regain his composure.
Every year? Well, every year for the past 3 years now. Doomgore 2 is about to be released this winter. So, I don't know what will happen then. But that kid is a bit of a whiz with technology.
Trixie adds, her voice soft and inviting.
So, new case?
A bit uncomfortable, Johnson tries to keep his focus. Quickly, the detective shoots back. Still the Eddie case. Kid is just a lead to find him. Trixie's eyes lock onto his with a mix of concern and curiosity.
Sad. That is your only concern. The kid.
Interesting, Johnson thinks as he watches the virtual world on the screen for the audience. The two teenagers battle for the highest score. Monsters charge at them from every direction, getting blown to smithereens, virtual blood and guts exploding everywhere. Trixie offers him a drink, her fingers brushing his as she hands it over.
Why don't you wait around for a little while? Bridgerton might show up for the tournament,
she suggests, her tone both caring and persuasive. Johnson takes her advice and sits in the dining area with Trixie. They watch the tournament progress and chat. Bridgerton never shows. Even Trixie seems worried. While she says nothing directly to Johnny, her hands tremble slightly when they discuss Eddie's failure to appear today. She knows Johnson is only looking for Eddie. Before he leaves the arcade, she also asks him to look out for Justin.
If anyone could use your help, it's that one. Let's just say he's been dealing with a lot in his young life.
I understand. At midnight, Johnny returns to his office. Daisy leaves several messages on his desk regarding bills he needs to pay. He pours himself a scotch and opens the blinds. The red neon floods into the room, casting a crimson glow on Johnny's skin. He hates the red light. It reminds him of Iraq. Avoiding the lights, Johnny signs several checks, but he knows he didn't have enough money in his account for them to clear. Something you have to do with faith and confidence, the old detective tells himself. Deep inside, he worries that his career is quickly reaching an end. But what could he do other than this? In the past, he secured work as a bounty hunter, but those jobs were very strenuous on the body, and he doubted his ability now to catch a fleeing suspect. With a resigned sigh, Johnny places the signed checks on Daisy's desk. Half an hour later, he navigates the city, heading for home. Throughout training, Johnson has learned to question given information. His mind now scrutinizes Lilli's words in the same way. Pushing the base of his palm against his temple, he agonizes over the missing good kid and the distraught mother. His thoughts drift back. Am I too old for this? I mean, there's going to be a time that everyone has to hang up their old work, pursue other dreams while they still can. Have I reached the point this career is too difficult for me to continue? The thoughts creep in unbidden. Johnson has seen too much, done too much. The years weigh heavily on his shoulders, each one marked by cases like this, filled with loss and heartache. Stay sharp, Johnny. This isn't the time to doubt. He shakes his head, trying to clear the fog. The flaps of his mouth catch air and he coughs. Lilli's words replay in his mind, each sentence dissected and analyzed. Something doesn't add up. Navigating through the sizzling lights of the city's neon-lit streets, he feels a pain of nostalgia. This city used to be different, simpler. The world has changed around him, but some things remain the same. The pain of a missing child, the desperation of a mother. Pushing through the doubt and weariness, he resolves to dig deeper. I owe it to the kid, and to myself. The journey home feels longer tonight, the shadows deeper. But Johnson knows he can't give up. Not now, not ever. Thank you for listening to Red Light Falling, Episode 2.5, Pulsing Red. Written by Joseph and Marisha Cautilli. The novel Red Light Falling, a noir tale of redemption by John Andrews, Joseph Cautilli, and Marisha Cautilli. Book 1 of Nanite Nation series. Director and producer, Roma Gray. Executive producer credits, Marisha and Joseph Cautilli. Narrated by Joshua Banks and Shauna Lee Carton. Music by Marisha Cautilli.